Most of my work is online in one capacity or another. I don't necessarily need the physical space at all. I could be anywhere and access various files. I'm very into this idea of cloud computing. And I work with film, I work with music. I edit both using software that's available, all over. And my laptop is essentially my studio. As long as I have a couple of the hard drives, a couple of terabyte hard drives, I could be at a cafe down the street and still working with my network here. It doesn't really have to be in one place or another. New York is an addiction machine. It's a city that demands attention. Like, you have to watch every step, always be aware of the surroundings, always have those surroundings reflect off of your ideas for the day. And in fact, there's a kind of a negative feedback loop. It's like the more you think about the city, the less you can do with the work. And I tend to find that the city demands a tremendous amount of time and energy just to be in New York. And you have to really watch almost all aspects of how a project unfolds. To do anything in New York takes 10 times more energy than if I was someplace else. But I love it. That 10 times more energy means that any project, any book, any essay, any music coming out of here is like hyper intensified, with the sort of relentless logic of the city driving the logic of how any creative act is going to come out of it. I look at the notion of defining how somebody looks at the creative act as a broad intervention across language itself. So when I say an intervention, I'm saying, okay, we have sound, we have material things like painting, sculptures, and so on. You have design, looking at chairs and couches and buildings, architectural. But what makes all of those connect is the basic creative act. And I think that right now the common denominator is software. For all of the things that are united with those kinds of different genres, different modes of creating. I think music is a very elusive form, but I'm also a graphic, kind of artist looking at graphic design. I'm an artist looking at conceptual installation work. I go to remote places like the North Pole or the South Pole. And above all, I try and think as much as possible about how to get people to think that design and sound, literature and art, they're no longer separate at all. Everything is connected. And software has led the revolution. Design responds to the environment at every level all the time, because that's what makes a creative person a reflection site, And I think that if you look at artists of the 20th versus 21st century, the thing that differentiates them isn't the fact that we now have the internet. It's the way that network effects can actually build something like a Shep Ferry with the Obey sticker, or something like the networks that create millions of people watching a cat dance on a radiator on YouTube or something. So as an artist, I'm intrigued by the network effects. If you look at viral marketing, if you look at Facebook's rise, if you look at the notion of these kind of social media network landscapes, the input and outputs that drive those are all based on the human being's desire to share information with another person. And we love it. We're turning our whole world inside out. Big Brother has been turned into every single cell phone and camera that everyone has, So these kinds of things are stuff that I think about right now. I tend to think that a key ingredient for anything that is sparking of interest in my kind of headspace is saying, okay, another world is possible. Let's move out of the frames of reference that we already have, and the way that people have set up this kind of colonial, now post-colonial discourse is saying, there's control mechanisms in place. Do you accept these? It's a protocol. It's a system for queuing and managing your expectations of what it's like to live on this planet right now. And we're seeing environmental change. We're seeing political discourse moving extremely right-wing. An artist is responsible for setting up new forms. And I think when I say new, something can be reprocessed, recycled, remixed, spliced, diced, transformed. But if it gives you an impulse that another world is possible, that's what makes it a good thing. And I try and say that with all intentions and purposes of being as open to history as possible, because that's where we learn. The archive is how I live and breathe, Creativity can shake mountains, blow up lakes, blow up volcanoes, create tectonic plate movements of the imagination, shift whole planets and populations into different configurations, open up your headspace to the fact that there's infinite amounts of universes of possibility, all with the blink of an eye, all with, the snap of a finger. Creativity can, at the end of the day, say that another world is possible.